I must say, it is both humbling and extremely exciting to see the power of Jeunesse. So thank you to all of you. Thank you for the corporate team to be here. It's an immense pleasure. So today I'm here to talk about REVITABLÜ and stem cells. So REVITABLÜ is a product that we're trying to grow as quickly as possible in Asia. Right now it is only in Malaysia. So Malaysia, do you like REVITABLÜ? Thank you, thank you. So REVITABLÜ is about stem cells. So to understand what REVITABLÜ can do for you, it is important to understand what are stem cells and what they do for you in your body. Because when you think of stem cells, when we normally talk about stem cells, what you can read in magazines, what you can see on the internet, in the news, is the extraction of stem cells from a source, like an umbilical cord, your own bone marrow, your blood, your fat tissue, then the multiplication of these stem cells in the lab, and then we re-inject them into your body, and then we expect them to have great regenerative potential. But it's not like when we extract stem cells from the bone marrow that they're dormant before we touch them and they're sort of awakened by the process. They're there in your body to begin with from the moment you're born. So if they have such a potential for your health, then what is the natural role of stem cells in the body? And when we understand this, then we clearly understand that this is leading us to a completely novel understanding of health and wellness. So that's what I would like to talk about with you today. So first, let's understand what is a stem cell. The best way to explain what is a stem cell is to first describe what is not a stem cell. All the cells of your body are somatic cells. They're cells that will do one specific thing. They will never transform and they will never multiply. Like a muscle of your cell will contract, that's all that it will do. A cell of your immune system will only fight pathogens. A neuron will conduct an electrical impulse, will release neurotransmitter, and that's it. A cell of your retina will respond to light, that's it. They will never do something else. They will never transform. At the other end of the spectrum, we have stem cells. Stem cells are cells that technically do nothing. Their role is in their ability to transform into other types of cells. Traditionally, they were known to be the precursors to blood cells. Red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, and that's it. So the huge breakthrough is that early 2000, stem cells were observed to have the ability to transform into cells of the heart, the liver, and the brain. And that was a real breakthrough. Since then, they were shown to have the ability of becoming cells of other types of tissues. But this was a huge breakthrough. This is a little bit like saying, we know that a caterpillar can transform into a butterfly, and now we're discovering that a caterpillar can transform into a cat, a dog, and a horse. That's about the impact that it had in science. So on the basis of this information, a colleague of mine, Dr. Gitte Jensen, and I, we published an article in a journal called Medical Hypotheses, in which we proposed a wild idea at the time: stem cells constitute the natural repair system of the body. It was so wild at the time that I remember once talking about this, and there's a professor that came and saw me after the lecture, and he said, I have to tell you something because it looks like nobody is telling you, son, you're just an idiot. And it's interesting just because it just shows how much of a breakthrough it was at the time. So now we can fast forward 15 years later. There are a lot of studies, hundreds of studies have been published to support this whole process. So let's see how it works in the body. Anytime there is an injury or a problem somewhere in the body, the affected tissue will release a compound that will circulate in the bloodstream, will reach the bone marrow, and then will trigger the release of stem cells from the bone marrow. Stem cells will detach from the bone marrow matrix, and stem cells will incorporate the blood circulation, and we will find them in the blood circulation. So after an injury, let's say 3 to 5 days after an injury, the number of stem cells in circulation will normally increase 3 to 10 times. Now, when stem cells are released, they don't know where to go. They don't know what is the tissue that is in need of repair. So what happens is that on the second day after the injury, the affected tissue is starting to release a specific compound that is designed to trigger the migration of stem cells out of the blood into the tissue. So when stem cells circulate everywhere in the body, and they go where? At the site of the injury where this molecule is being released, it triggers the ability of stem cells to leave the blood circulation, migrate into the tissues. When these stem cells land into the tissue, arrive into the tissue, they will crawl to the site of the injury following that molecule. And when the stem cell gets into contact with cellular debris of that tissue, stem cells will multiply and become cells of that tissue. Isn't that a beautiful process? It is your natural repair system that you've had from the day you're born. Just like you have an immune system, you have a repair system. I refer to it here as the renewal system, and you will understand a few minutes later why I mean renewal, because it's even more powerful than your repair system. So it means the release of stem cells from the bone marrow, their circulation into the bloodstream, their migration into tissue, their multiplication and transformation into cells of that tissue. But of all these steps, the one that has been the most studied, because in science we have tools to trigger the release of stem cells from the bone marrow, is the release of stem cells, and then its consequence, the increase in the number of stem cells in circulation. So what has been the most studied in science is the link between the number of stem cells in circulation, how many stem cells are into your bloodstream, and the ability of the body to maintain its own health, overall human health. There are hundreds of studies that have been done. I won't have the time to go through them, but the conclusion from all these studies is unequivocal. More stem cells in circulation means that more stem cells are available to participate to the natural process of tissue repair. What does that mean? It means that if you've got two people with the same problem, the person that has more stem cells in circulation will simply repair better, not because of any miraculous phenomenon, just because that's what stem cells do in the body. A flip side of this conclusion is that if one person has a problem, but that person can put more stem cells in circulation, then that person's ability to repair will then be enhanced. And out of all of this, there's another conclusion that is coming out, which to me is the most important. And that's the concept that I really want you to keep in mind. And it's the fact that if we don't have any problem, we're just talking about the normal health, aging process of an individual, people with fewer stem cells are more likely to lose their health. So let's look in a little bit more detail what that means, because to me that is the most important of this whole phenomenon. Overall, in our general understanding today in the world of medicine, our general understanding of disease formation, what happens when we age? When we're born, we are in radiant health. Then we reach peak health around, let's say, 20, 25 years old. And then from there on, it's just a slow decline. It's a little bit like to say, we're born with a bank account. We reach the maximum amount in the bank account at about 20, 25 years old. And from there, we just spend that money. So how much money we started with, the rate at which we spend it is going to tell us how far we're going to go. But stem cell research is bringing a novel understanding about what is health. Health is in fact a balance in the body between two phenomena. It's a balance between the cells that we lose every day and the ability of stem cells to replace the cells that have been lost. If we can replace the cells that have been lost as fast as we lose them, we're fine. It's like taking the analogy of your bank account. It's like in your life, and it makes so much sense. In your life, everything is a balance between your expenses and your income. If your income matches your expenses, you're fine. You have no problem. The problem comes in when you start to spend more money than you make. So when we're young, as a child, we have a lot of stem cells in our bone marrow. So the repair process is very strong. Everything is great. But as we age, we have fewer and fewer stem cells in circulation. And there's a point where we cross that line when slowly we have fewer stem cells to replace the cells that are being lost, so cellular loss gains ground. So what will make it that as this process evolves, and we have fewer stem cells, what is it that one person will develop a problem linked to the pancreas, somebody else it's the liver, somebody else it's the lung, somebody else it's the joint or the brain. It's a whole series of factors. It's your genetics, your past injuries, your exposure to environmental toxins, your lifestyle, your physical stress, your ability to handle physical stress, your ability to rest, to sleep, your diet, your mother-in-law, all of this. It's the pressure that is applied to you and your ability to respond to that pressure. You already know all of this. You know that all of these are the main aspects of your health, and they will determine what is the weak spot in your body, and that's where the problem will show up. It's a little bit, if I take again the bank account analogy, it's like saying, we've got somebody who cannot make his car payment. Somebody else cannot make their house payment. Somebody else cannot pay for their education bill, and somebody else cannot pay for their hospital bills. So we've got car problems, house problems, education problems, and health problems. But in reality, all we've got is money problems. It just shows up differently in different people because of different circumstances. It's the same thing. What science is telling us is that as we move in age and we have fewer and fewer stem cells in circulation, what is happening is that the place that is the weak spot in our body, this is where the problem will show up, and that's what we'll experience. So if we can put more stem cells in circulation, we can help the body maintain its health. If we put more stem cells in circulation, we're not doing anything here that is miraculous. We're not doing anything here that is medical. All we're doing is that we're tapping into the natural ability that we have since we are born to simply maintain our own health. So there are many studies that I could use to illustrate that phenomenon. So I'm taking one study specifically because it's a concept that is not obvious the first time that we hear it. And I want to illustrate with a study. I want to be clear here. I am not saying that taking REVITABLÜ will help for that disease. All I'm saying is that in life, we don't study health. Medicine does not study health. We study diseases, not because of a bad attitude by the research community. It's just that if you take 100 healthy people and you give them 1 carrot every day, and in 3 months you say they're still healthy, therefore carrots are good for health, it's not sound science. To show that a carrot will have something to do, you need to start with a problem that you improve. Otherwise, there's nothing that you can quantify. So we have to use studies on disease to draw results and conclusion on health. So here's a study in which scientists counted the number of stem cells in the bloodstream of patients who showed up for erectile dysfunction, or at least complaining of erectile function. So to the right, you see patients who complain from erectile function, and to the left, just normal individual. So if I bring back to the axis the average in the number of stem cells in circulation, we can see that people who complain of problems with erectile function have, on average, a little bit less than half the number of stem cells in circulation compared to healthy people. There's a direct link between... Now, before I say this, if I take all these people and I give them a test to establish the International Index of Erectile Function, and I plot a graph between the number of stem cells and erectile function, I get a straight line. There's a direct link between how many stem cells you have in your bloodstream and erectile function. The conclusion here is not about erectile function. It's about cardiovascular health, because that is true for conditions or the health of the cardiovascular system, but it's true, it has been shown, studies are there for the lung, for the pancreas, for the brain, for the kidney, virtually every aspect of human health. There is a direct link between how many stem cells you have in your bloodstream and the ability of the body to stay healthy. Now, to make this into an analogy, touching again our famous banking system, this is a little bit like saying, okay, today, the best of medicine is preventive medicine. It's to prevent the problem. It's a little bit like telling you the best way to be wealthy is to prevent poverty. you're never going to be wealthy if your strategy is to prevent poverty. You cannot reach optimal health if your aim is just to prevent the problem. All you will attain is just not having the problem. So the first time in history, and that is my key message to you, it's the first time in our history that we have an understanding of how the body works, to understand that the body has a health system. The body has a system that is designed to maintain optimal health. If you can tap into that system, you can go much further than just the absence of problem. You can give back to your body the best that it can be. The tagline for REVITABLÜ, I think it's genius. I don't know who came with that tagline, but whoever did it was deeply inspired. The tagline for REVITABLÜ is your best you, and that's exactly what it is. Whatever you're born with as a health potential, tapping into the potential of your own stem cell is the best way to tap your optimal potential in terms of health. So once we know all of this, then the question is, what can I do to put more stem cells in circulation? Well, that's where REVITABLÜ comes into the picture. So I started on this journey when I was working 15, 20 years ago with an aquatic botanical called Aphanizomenon aqua. In short, AFA. It's the first product that I worked with. And as we started to do the research on it, we found that it triggers a transient increase in the number of circulating stem cells, which is relatively small and relatively quick, but it really explained all the different benefits that we had observed over the years with this product. But when we discovered what AFA was doing, it was clear to me that it's not possible that nature has developed just one product that has an effect on stem cells. If it is our natural repair system, there must be other plants having an effect on stem cells. So I kept studying many plants, and the most exciting one that I worked with, which is the latest one, is sea buckthorn berry from the Tibetan plateau. Not sea buckthorn berry from anywhere in the world. Sea buckthorn berry growing in a place that is exposed to rainy season, droughts, extreme sun, extreme freezing. In extreme harsh environment, it creates these bitter berries that are filled with bioactive compounds. Let me tell you a little bit the story of sea buckthorn, because it has by itself a very fascinating story. Its name is Ipophae, which means shining horse. Normally in biology, a plant is named according to what the plant looks like. If you take, for example, the plant that we just talked about before, Aphanizomenon aqua, it means invisible flower of water. Here, it's a berry that the name comes from Alexander the Great. During his conquest, he's going through Western China, and he abandons a herd of wounded horses, and he leaves them to die in a field of sea buckthorn. He comes back a few weeks later, and then he sees a herd of healthy horse, vibrant horse with a shiny coat. Shiny coat means health for horses. So the berry is named Ipophae, which means shining horse. So it has been used, and since then it integrated Tibetan medicine, Mongolian medicine, Chinese medicine, where it is used for the health of the cardiovascular system, the heart, the liver, the pancreas, the skin. It helps for wounds. So it has all the criteria, to me, to what is a product that is likely to stimulate stem cell release. So we developed an extract with partners that are working there in Tibet. So we developed an extract, and when we tested it, we see a greater release of stem cells that last longer. Another key ingredient is beta-glucan. Beta-glucan has been documented for a long time to support the release of stem cells from the bone marrow, to support the health of stem cells in the bone marrow, but I included it in the formula because it was also observed to support the migration of stem cells out of the blood into tissue, which is also an important part of the whole process. So that is REVITABLÜ. Essentially, these components blended with flavors that basically turn it into like a delicious drink. If you have a chance to taste it, you will see it's something that is really good. So its benefits: supports the natural renewal system of the body, supports immune function. It's also a strong antioxidant. Now, when I started to work on REVITABLÜ, Dr. Donna Antar told me, you've got to go and study the other products into the JEUNESSE product line. So I went to study this, and I understood why she was saying this. Not only is JEUNESSE having a stellar line of products, but as we start to study them, there's an amazing synergy between these products. When you release stem cells, and with REVITABLÜ, when you release stem cells, one thing that will prevent stem cells from being able to see what is the tissue that is in need of repair is oxidative stress in the body. So we've got reserve. So you take reserve with REVITABLÜ and then you enhance the effect of REVITABLÜ. Now, when you apply the stem cell serum, it contains peptides that will do many things, but one of the things is that it will support the migration of stem cells out of the blood into the skin to support what stem cells will do in the skin. Now, if you have more stem cells in circulation with REVITABLÜ and then you apply the serum, you've just enhanced the whole phenomenon. So they work with an amazing synergy. When stem cells migrate in a tissue, they multiply. One stem cells will become 1,000 tissue cells. So if you release 5 million stem cells, that's a potential of 5 billion tissue cells. So we're discovering that it's one of the greatest metabolic demand of the body. So you've got AM/PM here that will provide all the vitamins, minerals, everything that is needed to support this high metabolic process in the body. And when you talk about tissue repair, you talk about making proteins, which are the skeleton of the tissue. So you start to add the Zen product to this, and then you provide the amino acid to support this whole process of tissue repair. I will leave it there, but there's an amazing synergy with essentially all the product. And as a conclusion, it reminds me that a video was shown to me of Dr. Amslog 2-3 years ago saying there's only one thing missing into the YES system, and it's a product that is going to tap into stem cells. So now you have it with REVITABLÜ, and I'm looking forward to being out there and presenting it to you. Thank you so much.